G'day everyone! Today I've got a really fun project for you to do with your Jane Davenport Mixed Media stamp set. This is the stamp set that I'm going to use today, and it's the build your own face stamp set. So you've got a face up here, you've got 4 noses, 4 eyes and 4 mouths, and they're all different, so you can create a ton of different options. And I want to show you how I personally integrate them into my own work and how I use these as a starting point, as a jump off point, and design around them with the little decorations that I like to use. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and techniques on how to do that and the way that I like to do it. And then at the end I'm going to show you this big old spreadsheet that I created and just chat to you a little bit about how far you can take it and what you can incorporate and how you can make it your own and create something that's totally different but still integrated with that face stamp set and completely new and unique. So keep watching and I hope you try it, and let me know if you do and share the love on social media, and I'd love to take a look. So enjoy. Thanks for watching. Okay, so this is one of my handmade traveler's notebook, or I guess butterfly book inserts, and I had 4 consecutive pages that were just blank. So what I did was take the face stamp set and essentially just made one of those kids flip books and reinforced it with some washi. This is just so if I wanted to pre-plan out which face I wanted, I could choose the nose, I could choose the lips, I could choose the eyes, and just get a feel for the face that I was going to create before I even started creating it. So if you've got 4 spare pages in your planner and you want to give this a go, just stamp out the head in the same place on each page, and then each, 4 set of different eyes, 4 noses, 4 mouths, and then just cut between them. And then you've got your own little flip book if you want to pre-plan the faces you want to draw. I think I'm going to do one on this side and one on this side. So I want to show you that the stamps are really whatever you want to make of them. I'm going to show you in the Toffee VersaFine ink, and I've got my little makeshift magnetic photo frame fridge magnet, because that's how I roll. And basically I'm going to do exactly the same face on both sides. And I'll show you that you can add a few lines to enhance the face that you've already got, or you can add a ton of lines and use the face as a jumping off point for an image that you would like to create yourself. I'm using this in a darker color. I'd suggest that if you were going to use this as a jumping off point, the stamp, that you use maybe a water soluble ink in a light color, then your working lines will completely disappear. And this, I guess, all relates back to my laziness. Sometimes I don't want to draw out all the working lines for a face. Sometimes I just want them there, because my favorite part is adding all the decorations. Okay, so I'm going to use the Incredible pen, and we're going to start on the left-hand side here. Now, I just want to show you that you can follow the lines that are already there and still get something quite beautiful, just adding a few extra touches. Now, this is water soluble, so what I'm going to do is grab my water brush, and I'm going to blend out the ink to create shadows. So the first thing I want to do, I've got these 2 necklines here, so I'm just going to give her a little neck and the start of a shoulder. It's as simple as taking this line here and these lines for the ears. If you want those ears lower, if you want them bigger, just move them. I mean, the lines are still there, but you're going to work over the top of them, and if this is a more water-soluble ink or something lighter, you won't even see them. You might still see mine at the end, but that's fine. So with this one, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm actually just going to loosely trace over the lines that are already there. You can see that even just bringing that line down a touch already changes the mood of those eyes. And it's basically like adding makeup, you can add your little wings on there, you can add lashes. I always add lashes. I'm going to enhance that crease. I'm going to darken up this black for the pupil and just lightly go around some of these lines. I'm going to put in 2 little nostrils here. It doesn't have to be precise or planned out or careful. Just going in where I think I want to spread around some color. You might even change up some of the face shape a bit. A good technique, if you want something to look sketchy, because I quite like that sketchy rough look, just take your pen and loosely go over the lines. I mean, don't even think about it, don't plan it, just literally go over them. If that's your aesthetic. It is mine, I know it's not for everybody. So now I'm just going to go over these eyebrows with a few hairs. I'm going to give her quite a simple hairdo. I'm just starting with the middle part and taking it down to the ears. And then for this, I always love to give them a little crown, just as a little accent. Alright, so here I'm going to show you that just with the water brush you can move that ink-soluble pen around and create your shadows straight onto the image. So she's going to have that. If you leave white spaces, those are your highlights. So what I encourage you to do is think about where you want the shadows and the moodier parts of the image. If you want hard shadows, just hit the shadow spots. If you want to blend it out, you can take some of that lighter wash of water and bring it through. But you can see quite quickly, even just with this pen, this water brush, we've already created a pretty dimensional image here. There you go. So if you want to use that as a guide and just trace over the lines, you can get something still pretty unique looking. And you can keep adding to it. You can take a finer fountain pen if you want and add in some of those lines that you feel like you want to be more detailed. But that's what I'm going to show you on the next part. Okay, so that's a quite simple version of how to alter your stamps and how to get the most out of them and integrate them into the work that you kind of like to do. So this side I'm going to show you something a little different. I'm going to show you if you take it all the way there, if you want to add in tons of detail and use this as a guide. So I'm going to start with the neck. I'm going to keep this because it's a waterproof pen, and I think I'm going to add a little water media to this. So I've got the lines for the neck here as a guide, but I'm actually going to go a little thinner because that's my aesthetic. I'm still going to keep that nice gentle curve, but I'm going to give her a slightly smaller and more petite frame. Now I'm going to alter this face shape from the beginning. So I want to take these in. I like my jaw to kind of hit around the mouth area, so I'm going to bring it right the way down. The proportions will be different, your eyes will be bigger, your eyes will be smaller, your mouth will be lower. It's really up to you on how you want to do that. I always add a little squiggle in. Oh, I forgot hers. Alright, so this nose, I'm just going to hit up here. Nice little highlight on the nose. I love to put in this in the Cupid's bow. I like to put a little mouth, a little kind of closed off dot area in the mouth and swoop these lines down. It looks a little more pouty. And bring this up. So you can see I'm using the lines as reference, but I'm not completely tracing over them. And if I want things smaller, I'll bring it in. If I want things bigger, I'll take the line out. So here's where the eyes get a little dramatic, and this is what I enjoy. I like to take this and literally cut the eye in half. It becomes very vacant and distant. So all I'm taking is from this inner corner, slicing the shape in half and bringing it to the outer corner. And then I'm going to give it a nice full dark pupil. Now I'm going to come in back with paint over pens, to hit some of these highlights and get back what I took out with the black ink. But for now, I'm happy with this. For the eyebrows, I kind of want them to be a little bushier and start down here. I'm not going to take that curve up so dramatic, so I'm just going to carve it out down here while my ink just flies everywhere. It's alright, we'll work that in. So I've got this new line for the face down here, so I'm going to put her ears down here. I like the ears to be more towards the mouth for me. So even by using a thinner, a finer tipped pen or a finer fountain pen, you can see it's already a lot more sketchy and just looks a lot more detailed because the line is so fine. I'm going to give her the same crown just going this way. So I just want to show you that in principle, we've just done exactly the same thing we did over here, but we've used the lines more as a reference point than a point to copy over and trace. And you can see it's already starting to look a lot different. Now, I don't like to wash the color over everything. I like to put it in the shadow areas, much like what we did over here. Call it lazy, call it stylized, call it whatever you like. I'm okay with that. Great thing about watercolor is if you don't love it, just grab a little piece of paper towel and blot it off. If it gets too dark, you can take it away, just re-wet it. Alright, I'm gonna give her a little orange lip. I don't know why, but I'm feeling orange today. If you want to wash all over your colors, that's fine. We can come back with a paint pen and put in the highlights that you want. But just keeping it a little loose and impressionistic with the coloring really helps if you've got this sketchy, stylized line work. You don't want to color it in too precisely if your line works looks like it's sketchy and rough. Alright, so even something as simple as adding these little kiss curls, they're just a simple brush stroke. You take it down, change the pressure that you're holding the brush at, and you're already starting to get something really, really different happening here. I'm going to dip into this ink that's floating around. I love a good brush stroke. Do tons of stuff with this line brush stroke look. Just think it's really fun. Alright, so she's already looking pretty good to me. Okay, that should be dry. Now I'm gonna grab, I've got a Derwent graphic pen here, and I've got a bunch of paint over pens. Alright, I've got the unicorn one here. I'm just gonna give it a little tap. Like Jane says, encourage the unicorn to come out. Alright, so we're gonna add in some highlights. I didn't really hit up her nose that much with color, so the highlights are still pretty much there. I'm gonna add a little highlight to the eyes. This is a relatively soft highlight. These paint pens are buildable. They're great quality. But sometimes I like to go in with something a little more opaque straight away, because I'm a little impatient. Just adding highlights to her lips to give it a little glossy look, her eyes to give it a little more whimsical look, and her hair just to give it some gloss. Anywhere that the light would pick up. If you want to get a reference image from the internet or something, just look at where all the highlights are, where all the parts of the photo are catching the light. And that's if you want a really specific reference. For me, I just go with it. Here I've got a Pentel brush pen, and they're a little tricky to get used to, but I love the line that they create, especially with wings on the eyes. It's like using an actual eyeliner to put the eye makeup on. So I'm loving her eyeliner. I'm going to add in some eyelashes for her. I used to be very precise and count the eyelashes on one side and made sure they match the eyelashes on the other side, but you know, these days I tend to be a bit more free with everything. I'm going to put a J in there for James. Different types of squiggles and zentangling and doodling. It's quite therapeutic actually. You can even put your journaling somewhere if you want to go down here and just extend the line. Alright, so here we've got exactly the same face stamp on both sides. And I use the same ink. I've got, I used one product in this, the Incredible Pen. I use a ton of products on this. And if you want to take it all the way there and just use the face stamp as a guideline, it's such a great way to eliminate that boring part of measuring things out and getting a guide for everything and erasing. I mean, don't even erase, just add it on top. So exactly the same face stamps and two completely different looks. So I'm gonna go grab a big spreadsheet that I did just to show you a bunch of different examples and a ton of different ways that you can customize your stamps. I'll be right back. Okay, so here's one I prepared earlier. So you can see there's a variety of stuff going on here, and I've used a bunch of different products and a bunch of different techniques. So we've got these columns, and in each column you've got exactly the same stamp at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Oh, my voice is cracking. So yeah, and these rows along here, I'm just gonna call this beginner, and I'm gonna call this intermediate, and I'm gonna call this advanced. So what you've got going on here, you've got the stamp, and you can still see a lot of the working lines in the stamp here because I wanted to show you that it is exactly the same stamp. Here I've just traced loosely around the stamp and then added in a few extra elements, nothing too crazy. And if you want to leave it at this, by all means, leave it at that. You've decorated it, you've made it yours, and that's great, and that's what we're trying to do here. This intermediate level, basically I've taken exactly what I've done here, and I've just added in extra details. So you can see she's got, 3 eyelashes here. Here we've added in a few more eyelashes. We brought that line down, we put some eyeliner on her. We've made her lips a little smaller, a little more pouty. Just filled in some of these with squiggles and lines, and actually given her a collar and a bit of a fashion statement going on down here. Now, right down in advanced, it's exactly the same thing. And instead of doing the scribbles, oh my goodness, the scribbles, I've taken a brush pen and just used the brush pen to put in those details. So it saves time, and it's a completely different look too. We've given her the same hair, here we've added in a little bit more, but here we've just added in strands. We've got real loose with it. I've filled in her lips. You can see that they're smaller and poutier than the actual lips that were underneath. And again, if you use a water-soluble ink, or a very, very light color, this stuff can completely disappear, and you can just have your image on top and just use it as a base. And yeah, we've finessed the details and the lines, and really given her some dramatic eye makeup. So this is exactly the same stamp, exactly the same decoration. But if you add in, if you keep going, put in some little cross hatching for your shadows. You know, this is just one product. This is just a carbon fountain pen. Here, you know, if you want to start and be adventurous with your mermaid markers, you can add a flower in. I used the stencils that came with one of my butterfly books, and just added that on top, and that's a great starting off point. I mean, I could leave it like that and be completely happy with it. If you want to go a little further, here you can see we've elongated the neck. We've given her some extra details and maybe put in a little love heart and some scribbles. We've been a bit more adventurous with the water here. We've added in some nice little cheek accents, a nice little choker, very simple. But we're adding more detail from the start. And then right down to advanced, we're just taking exactly the same stuff that we've been doing up here, and we're just going further in with it, being more intentional about, you know, where we want to place those extra details. I've added in paint marker down here that this one doesn't have, so that's an extra level of depth. And here the skin tone is just one skin tone in watercolor. Here we've added in a bunch of skin tones, all within the same color family, and just made it a bit more rich. So it's also a great way to practice with your new mediums, because we can all swatch, we can all you know, just scribble on a page and see how we work with something. But generally when we get into mixed media, we use it with other stuff, and you want to see how these things react when they're together. I mean, mermaid markers react completely different to anything I've used before, so these were great techniques for me to see what I could do with them, what I could layer with them. If I put ink with them, would it blend nicely, or would it do something crazy? It's kind of like a little chemistry class. So I'll just talk about this one because this one's a little out there. I stamped it with blue ink because I thought blue would be nice shadows, and then I used a very adventurous color for the skin tone. So we've just got the pen, the watercolor, and I used a bit of paint over pen here. So there's a few products in this one alone. Down here we've moved on to a Montana acrylic marker and some deeper, richer colors, and the Jane Davenport paint over pens and mermaid markers, and we've got a grey paint pen up here. And then I've been a bit more adventurous with how much watercolor I laid onto the skin tone. Down here, it's exactly the same. This stamp is exactly the same as this one. You can still see the working lines here if you look closely. But I added a ton more to this. And you can see even these, in essence, are very, very simple shapes and very, very easy to do. I mean, these are diamonds, these are dots, these are lines, and these are, you know, little mermaid scales. But putting them together in a mix, and even adding a line with little dots on it, I mean, there's so much more interest in this for me that I like to look at. And they're very simple techniques, and it's, you know, decorative and fun, and her skin tone got crazy, and I love the way that it all granulated, that Daniel Smith watercolor. That's Moon Glow, one of my faves. So yeah, this is basically a chart to show you that if you want to start here. If you think you've got to this and you want to add more, or if you've got to this and you're happy, by all means, go ahead, put it in your journal. If you want to get to this, just take what you've done already and add to it. I mean, work over the lines you've already done. Keep it sketchy, keep it loose. It's more fun to play if you're not completely planned out. And if you want to take it even further, I mean, get to here. I've got a ton of examples in other little books. This is the first ones I was doing. These are the ones that I did today. I even stamped out a bunch in these little off-cut journal inserts. When I was making some, I had leftover, and I thought I'm not going to waste those. Even in here, this was my planning for the lesson. Here I've just stamped straight on and coloured the face as it was. And then I put some little hair accents on it. So if you just want to use the stamps as they are, because they're great to use as they are, play with colour, play with adding media onto it, play with, you know, different hairstyles and wacky, zany ideas. Use washi tape for their shoulders, you know, like they're clothed in washi. I would love that. The best thing you can do is play, and I challenge anyone out there, if you're feeling adventurous, recreate my artwork using this same technique. Every one of these faces is different, but so are these. So if you want to grab your stamps out and make a large mixed media artwork, I'd love to see someone tackle this challenge. That's it for everything. I'm going to do a few close-ups and show you a lot of what's going on down here. I hope you are inspired to go play with your stamps and share how you like to customize them and what you like to add to them. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Bye!